Oh, another Grandmaster player. It's like I'm destined to verse only Grandmasters for the rest of my life.
Good luck. You can do this.
Yo, Theory, reaching the double digits, my dude.
Yeah.
How you doing, Theory?
Hey guys, what's up? It's Livibee. Welcome to my game versus Serenity, a ZVP against a Grandmaster Protoss on New Repugnancy. So against Serenity, I decided to play a macro game, even though I've been struggling against Protoss lately because of the 2-base timing that Protosses like to do a lot on the ladder. But if they let me macro, oh boy, there's no stopping this bee from buzzing. So I take my 17 hatch, throw down my 17 pool, and my 17 gas. And we're going into full macro, guys.
Yeah, I don't have song requests on anymore. Thanks for reminding me, OG Ace. Very kind of you. You got my back. Oh, Fear Dragon, thanks for continuing on that gifted sub you got from Neuro. You're legit awesome, Fear Dragon. That joke you made on Twitter about why does Zombie Grub fear Livibee made me laugh, dude.
I send my first Overlord across the map. I want to scout his initial tech structures. Protosses can open for the gateway into Cybercore expand, or they can go double gate and do that double adept harass early on and try and pick up some of your economy early. So getting that initial scout off with your first Overlord is really important because of that. It really dictates how many drones you can take or how many Zerglings you have to make to defend against the aggression that the Protoss might throw at you, or if they're just straight up cannon rushing you, which is why you leave your second Overlord on top of your natural hatchery until it's finished and you know the timing's passed for a cannon rush to happen. Because if you can scout that cannon rush go down straight away, then you are money.
It's kicking in late, isn't it? We have scheduled to go on front page 10 minutes ago. So, let's see what's going on with that.
In holding it. If you don't scout it, oof, it gets a little bit dicey in trying to win that game from that point. It's not impossible, but it's just really hard. I've been in that situation before. So I'm going to get my queen. I'm going to try and shoo away the initial probe from any follow-up scouting. Inject my hatcheries. Take a third base. You want to get 3 base economy going pretty quickly against Protoss because their units are so cost efficient, and if you aren't able to get the income you need for the production in order to counter their units, it becomes so much more difficult than it could be if you had the resources you need in order to build the army necessary to hold their timing pushes. He's doing a good job by sending an adept across the map, phasing it into my main base, scouting what's up, seeing if I got a lair early or a roach warren, because if I get an early lair it usually does mean Nidus potential or really fast mutas.
Let's see if I can get a surround on this guy. Nope, he's watching.
Or something crazy like that a Protoss player can then react to.
He was on top of it. He knew what's up. He knew what was up.
With my first initial Overlord, I see it's pretty standard play coming out from Serenity. He's got his gateway and his cybercore going. He's also got his natural nexus, which is going to be probing up. And then a Phoenix comes out and starts attacking my poor little Overlord at the natural, which reveals he's actually gone for the Stargate opening. Stargate opening generally does mean that I can drone a little bit harder into the mid-game, because he won't have the gas for that really early immortal gateway timing push that a lot of Protosses can opt go for. So I drone like crazy. I'm getting my economy up and getting it situated. I do have to make 1 spawn every mineral line just in case he tries to go for oracles or mass phoenixes to try and do a lot of economic damage to me. So making those spores really helps defend against that.
Better get some spores up in this house.
I also throw down a safety roach warren just in case he does like an adept timing. And I really do want to get a follow-up scout if possible. It's very hard once they've opened with that Phoenix because they do kill off all your overlords that are out on the map for potential follow-up scouting. So you do have to wait for that layer to finish in order to morph an overseer for the follow-up scout. So at this point in the game, I am playing a bit blind, which double ensures that getting that safety roach warren is necessary. I also send just 1 Zergling to each of his potential third bases, because the timing on when he takes his third is really essential for me to find out as quick as possible. If he takes a third base without me knowing, then his economy would just skyrocket, which means his army, when he does decide to finally push, will be that much stronger than mine. He was being greedy and I wasn't, and that means GG. But I do send that Zergling across the map, and I scout that there is a probe opting to take a third base. So to me, I feel like this is going to be a really macro-orientated game. We're both basically not gearing up for any super aggressive timing pushes. We're just chilling, both being pretty chill right now. 2 Phoenixes coming to my main base to harass, picking off an Overlord where they can, getting that scouting information that they need. So Serenity, he pushes into my third base to do a little bit of harass, couple of gateway units, nothing super committed. He does get straight into my third base mineral line, trying to pick off drones here and there. I try and get the surround on some drones and my Zerglings, and pulling some reinforcement queens from my natural to help deal with this and clean it up as quick as possible. I did suffer from a few drone losses though, unfortunately, which sets me a little bit behind. I am going to have to drone extra hard to catch up on economy. It was just such a random push. I really wasn't expecting it. But it does really help to have that creep spread extended more into the map so that you can scout when the Protosses push out sooner rather than later.
Like, what was that attack?
Also, a good idea is maybe putting a Ling or 2 out in the middle of the map to catch those little skirmishes here and there. But it wasn't too rough, because behind this, I was making a spire. And now my spire is complete. I've injected all my hatcheries, and every single gas that I have mined will be dedicated into morphing more Mutalisks. I'm also making a 4th base. I'm going to take my gases there as soon as possible to get that additional gas income that I need to make even more mutas.
For the swarm.
Behind this though, it is a bit scary because he is making Phoenixes. He opened Phoenixes and he is continuing Phoenix production, which isn't always what you will see Protoss players do. They usually do switch out of it and transition to gateway units, which is why when Protosses open Phoenixes, they actually least suspect you to go mutas, because Phoenix is counter Mutalisk. Why would you make Mutalisk?
Damn,
The
he's
Protoss
continuing
player
on
thinks.
Phoenix production, but he didn't even scout my spire. Must be just this guy's playstyle.
Well, for my name isn't Livibee, the Mutalisk player. Mutalisk is actually my favorite unit in the game, guys. I get asked that question quite a lot. Mutas are like bees. They fly around, they buzz around the map, and they are just great. Little flappy bees buzzing around. So it is a bit unfortunate for me that Serenity is continuing on that Phoenix production, which means I can't be aggressive with my Mutalisks as quickly as I'd like to be. I actually do have to morph a healthy number of Corruptors before I'm able to push out with my Mutable. So I'm really focusing on getting my economy up and going. I'm going to try and expand as much as I can, take additional bases, get those gases saturated as quick as possible. And as soon as I have those Corruptors out, I'm going to try and pick away at his economy, pick up units here and there that are stray around the map, catch Zealot run-bys, or anything that I can possibly do to trade well against Serenity's army. The highest priority target is the mineral line or tech structures. So I'm pushing into Serenity's third, scouting what he's got, seeing his defensive structures, how many shield batteries, how many photon cannons, and I'm going to try and see if I can find a window of opportunity, pick away at something, maybe some probes, kill off some cannons or some shield batteries, or even a pylon. But he is on the ball. He does get his Phoenixes into position. A really good way to use your Muta Corruptor Ball is to actually poke at the Protoss player's base, run away, and when the Phoenixes are chasing your army, turn back and try and pick off a Phoenix, and then run away again, and then go back. It's like the air unit version of kiting. So I want to get my Corruptors to tank the damage of the Phoenixes and possibly add DPS with my Mutas. And I'm actually not going to stop my Muta Corruptor production behind this. The upgrade that I want to prioritize on my Spire for my Muta Corruptor army is Carapace. Because as you know, Phoenixes do have that double shot pew pew Phoenix bullets from each of their wings. They actually hit twice. So the +1 Carapace goes into effect twice, meaning it's more effective than getting the +1 ranged attack. This is only up against Phoenixes though. If he was going for a different unit composition to counter Mutalisk, you would probably prioritize the attack on the Mutas and the Corruptors. I also find a really good addition to your Muta Corruptor army is to add Zerglings. If you can add a ball of Zerglings just for run-bys or potential base denial and slowly upgrade those Zerglings too, they become exponentially more useful throughout the game. When you're actually building a lot of Mutalisks, it takes a lot of gas, but not as much minerals, and you'll find yourself having a lot of minerals left over that you aren't really using. So making the rest of your minerals into Zerglings can be really helpful for just like double prong harass on the Protoss player, really splitting his attention and stressing him out. Now in this engagement at the third, I actually feel like I have a really decent number of Corruptors. Enough Corruptors to counter his Phoenixes, because his ground army is quite lacking in DPS. He's only got a bunch of sentries below his Phoenixes. And sentries, they really just tickle. They tickle your units, and they really don't add that much DPS against air. I feel confident enough to take this engagement. I pick off a few Phoenixes, I push him back. He warps in a round of Stalkers beneath this to really try and force my army back. But I'm trading at this point. I have a really good economy, but I feel like I can trade units. At 177 supply in the game and expanding behind this, I'm really trying to keep him on the defense. If he gets aggressive and starts picking away at my economy, then that's when I get in trouble. So keeping your Protoss player on the defensive when you're the Mutalisks player is essential in making this strategy work. I'm clearing some rocks in the map just to make it easier for my ground units to get across the map, and if push comes to shove, base trade against Serenity. Serenity though, switching to the Stalker composition makes it a little bit difficult to engage. You never really want to engage an army like that because your mutas, they don't do the best against a really large Stalker army. The DPS is a bit too strong. If you find a group of Stalkers being warped in, you can engage that, but as soon as they blink on you and they outnumber your mutas, you want to back up. So at this point, he blinks on top of my army, picks off a couple roaches, but honestly, I don't really want the roaches at this stage of the game. They're kind of eating up a lot of supply. And now that I'm maxed, I'm banking some resources to continue maxing out. He is focusing on expanding behind this, and I'm just focusing on picking him apart, picking his economy apart, pulling his army out of position, trading out units. If I can trade out mutas for Stalkers efficiently, I'll definitely take that trade. For example, if he blinks with only half of his army, then I know I can take that engagement. He can't retreat because he's used his blink. His blink is on cooldown. So that's cost efficient for me. I'm continuing my Mutalisks upgrades behind this, and I traded out my roaches on his fourth base, weakening up some of those cannons for me to pick off later with my Mutalisks. So I go to clean up those cannons that my roaches weakened earlier, but his whole army was in position and blinked on my mutable, which is actually really scary for me. But again, I am maxed at this point, and I have a bank to replenish my mutas behind this. So trading isn't always a bad idea. If my mutable gets too weak, then I will want to back up and replenish my mutable before re-engaging again. Making sure you're keeping up with the injects though, otherwise you won't have the lava necessary to make the units in time. The remax will be too slow, and that's definitely not the position you want to be in. Now at this stage of the game, this is when I use my excess minerals on a bunch of Zerglings. Zerglings actually do really well against Stalkers if you can get a nice engage. So I back my mutas up in the corner. I also like to keep my Mutalisks close to the edge so they do have an exit. They can fly away if things get too dicey. And a good thing about engaging on the edge or a cliff is that Stalkers can't really get the surface area they need within range to do the DPS to the mutas that they really would desire. It's not the most cost-efficient scenario for them. I'm going to throw down double evolution chamber to start working on my upgrades for my Zerglings. Upgraded Zerglings would be a really great addition against a mass Stalker ball. But Serenity is now doing what every Protoss player does against a Mutalisks player at this stage of the game. He's thrown down the Dark Shrine. And this is where it gets really dicey. This is where it changes the game up a little bit. You have to throw down some static defense in your bases, because otherwise you'll lose too much of your economy. And he's taking this as an opportunity to expand again. Now I really don't want Serenity expanding again, because if his economy gets out of hand, then it becomes so much more difficult to deal. Because if Serenity's economy gets out of hand, it becomes so much more difficult to shut him down. He'll have the resources and the economy to make a really desirable, scary Protoss death ball. The ideal outcome for a Mutalisks player is to really hinder the economy, the tech path, or whatever have you, to slow that Protoss death ball down. If he now gets an army that you can no longer trade with, then you really just got to count your lucky stars at that point. because he could basically push across the map, sweep out your economy, and force you into a base trade scenario. And a base trade scenario doesn't always work if they can set up enough photon cannons and shield batteries to deny your Mutalisks. They become a lot less cost efficient. Now I still do have a pretty deathly mutable, but I have to clean up these DTs as quick as possible without taking a game-ending amount of damage. So while defending these DTs, I'm going to retake my bases simultaneously. A Spinecrawler in my 4th base, desperately trying to keep it alive with the transfuses left on that queen. Spinecrawler falls though, but I didn't lose that many overall drones at that base. Serenity is doing a really good job at splitting my attention across all of my bases to try and defend so many different areas of the map. This is where multitasking comes into play. You really need good multitasking to deal with this. Now that I've cleaned up the Dark Templars, I can start engaging into Serenity's base. I noticed that he stopped Phoenix production at this point, so I used my Corruptors to caustic spray down the Nexus while targeting down the Stalkers with my Mutalisks. But he's got Storm, and he storms my Mutas! So you have to split your Mutas, magic box them, stutter step them on top of the High Templars and try and pick them off before they can get that crucial amount of storm damage off. Which is exactly what I did! High Templars down, my friends! All these High Templars die. He taps out. Dark Templars were hurled, High Templars were picked off, and he had nothing left, my dudes. He taps out and gives the bee a solid 36 points. I hope you guys enjoyed this game and gave you a little bit more insight into the Mutalisk playstyle in a ZVP. And I'll see you guys for the next vid.
I mean, I guess he ran... Okay, let's have a look at that army value. I guess I did have a superior army value by quite a significant margin. And my economy was below his, but his wasn't that much far ahead when he did the DT push. Yay!